Well, thank you for joining us. I realize that this is a very busy time of the year. So whenever you have open invitations, you never know who's going to show up. I know that I received several emails from families saying that they had other previously scheduled events, and they did send me their notes, their thoughts. So what I wanted to do was to talk about a survey that we sent to the community several weeks ago, and then looking at the results, and then having a discussion, asking questions. Basically, my method has been to learn from the survey, take information from the survey to present it. I thought about how I wanted to present it. At first, I thought about just going through the questions, but then I said, no, what I wanted to do was take a deep dive. And so I compiled the survey and then gathered some talking points with data, and I just wanted to take it from there. Before we begin, though, since we're somewhat small tonight, I thought it would be interesting if we can just go around and introduce ourselves, and if you can identify your student and what grade level.
Stephen A. Progressel, my daughter Christina. We start with senior year next year.
Nice.
Shannon and Derek Minor, we have a rising senior and a rising ninth grader.
Okay.
Sherry Calhoun.
I have Derek, who is a rising senior.
Okay.
I'm Amy Farrell. I have a graduating senior and a rising senior.
Nice.
Jessica Paletta. I currently am a seventh grader.
Okay.
Kelly Rogers. I have a rising eighth grader and a rising sophomore.
All right.
I'm Lauren Musoff. I have a rising junior and a rising seventh grader.
Okay.
My name is Jim Moore. I have a rising junior and a rising freshman.
Okay. Well, section 1 is the introduction and purpose. The purpose and structure of tonight's meeting is to achieve several things. To review the key themes from the Culture and Identity Survey, reflect on SWA's emerging identity and opportunity for growth, discuss possible initiatives and next steps, engage families in collaborative discussion and brainstorming, strengthen alignment, communication, and community moving forward. One of the things I will say is that this survey was very revealing because we had a combination of newer families, long-term families, and gave very similar perspectives. And I think one of the things that has emerged from this survey is actually our identity, which I think is really exciting. We had 104 total participants. The majority were parents. So parents were actively involved in the survey, followed by staff and students. As I said before, the responses reflected both newer and long-term stakeholder perspectives. The overall tone reflected investment. People are deeply invested, concerned, and hope for continued growth. So I thought that was a nice mix. So as you can see in the breakdown, we had 78 parents filled out the survey, 20 staff members, 6 students. I realized that it was going to be hard to capture students, but we tried, and we may actually send a follow-up survey next year. But I wanted to glean a snapshot because I realized that those who took the survey are the ones that are actually invested. So I knew that I was going to get some good information. So what were the findings? What we learned from the survey: families value small school environment. Strong relationships exist between students and staff that matter to them very deeply. Many appreciated the supportive and welcoming atmosphere. Communication and engagement efforts have improved. For years, one of the knocks is that we have not done a great job of communicating as a school. One of the things that we tried to do this year was have someone as a central point of communication to families. So communication has improved, but it still needs to get better. And the other underlying theme was that families want SWA to continue growing and improving. Major themes that were identified in the survey: small class sizes and individual support was a major key theme. Student relationships and a sense of belonging. Consistency and accountability. One of the themes that was discovered is that there was concerns about the school being consistent and the school following up with consistent accountability. Academic rigor and expanded opportunities for students was also a major theme of the survey. Communication and organizational alignment. We'll talk about that soon, but I thought that was also very telling in the survey. What do we mean by organizational alignment? So there were people within the survey that felt as if sometimes the school operates in pockets, that one department is following the expectations while another department may not be following the expectations. And so therefore it gives confusing signals to students as well as families. So that was one of the underlying themes that came from the survey. Clear communication and shared messaging throughout the school community. Alignment between the school's mission, programs, and daily practices was another theme. Stability and consistency for students, families, and staff. Ensuring all areas of the school are working toward shared goals and a unified vision. Areas of progress and momentum that were also identified in the survey. Improved communication and family engagement, expanded community events and outreach efforts, creation of the Student Services Department, continued focus on student support and belonging, strengthening athletic leadership and programming, growth in community partnerships and school visibility. So as I was gathering this information, the information was good information, but also forced me to take a hard look at the school. There were very supportive comments. There were comments that were very critical, which is what I wanted. And then there were comments with suggestions for improvement. And so the survey reflected both strengths and opportunities. One of the things that was clear in the survey is that there was concern about staff turnover. There was concern about staff members not finishing the school year. And that was one of the concerns that was mentioned in nearly about 10% of the surveys. Families clearly value relationships, support, and belonging. Many concerns were centered around consistency, communication, and organizational clarity. But one of the things I did realize is that regardless of the varying themes, there was a sense of investment amongst our families, that our families are invested in this school because our families know that we do have challenges, but they also know that at its heart, we keep our students at the center, and they've realized that there's a unique relationship that exists within this community. Opportunities moving forward. I'm really excited about our identity. One of the themes, several key findings evolved from this survey, that we are a smaller, relation-centered school community. Students are known, supported, and encouraged to grow. Strong connections between students, staff, and families. A culture focused on belonging, support, and opportunity. A school working to strengthen consistency, direction, and long-term vision. These are the elements of who we are as a school. We love the fact that we offer small class sizes, that our teachers and staff, teachers and students have relationships, that our students are supported, and that we now have to take this opportunity to give our students additional support along with additional incentives so that they can truly maximize their full potential. One of the things that all schools, healthy schools, have in common, they have a fair balance between academics, arts, and the athletics. If you have a school that has academic rigor, that also consists of pathways for creating incentives for student interest, leadership, and career readiness, the arts looking at creativity. One of the things I've learned about this survey is how can we get our students more involved? One of the things that Mrs. Seamith did this year that was really interesting, our students actually helped become part of our marketing team. They were able to create these really cool videos and to market the school, to market certain events. That's one of the things that we're going to take more advantage of, is using our students to help us market the school. Because as we all know, in the world of technology, who's better than a student? They live and breathe the world of technology. Athletics. We talk about teamwork. We talk about working together. What do you learn from being a part of a team? I think over the last several years, people have started to label us different things. People say that we're a basketball school. People say that we only focus on basketball. So one of the things that we're working on now is to create that fair balance, a balance amongst all of our sports. We just hired a dynamic athletic director who is seasoned, very knowledgeable. And one of the things that he said to me in the interview is that he wants to create a balance, an equitable balance across all of our sports, so that all of our students feel valued and honored. And that was one of the things that was really exciting. So in the 3 A's of building a school culture, none should be above the other. There should be an equal balance. That's how you create a healthy school environment. So, from this, I took a lot of time of deep reflection, thinking about what are the best next steps for the school, because all of us view the school from different lenses. One of the things that I've realized is that it takes a village. It takes collaboration. It takes partnership. And sometimes, oftentimes, it takes varying perspectives. During the summer, we have a list of objectives: improving organizational consistency and support across the school, expanding electives and career exploration opportunities, clarifying school-wide expectations and communication, strengthening alignment across programs and student experiences, improving marketing and storytelling around SWA strengths, building stronger community and business partnerships. This is ambitious, but one of the things that I would love to form, that I want to form, is a collaborative engagement group. That is a group that consists of our stakeholders: parents, staff members, school leadership, and students. a brainstorming group that comes together and we talk about what are ideas that will help move the school forward. One of the things I've learned from this survey is that collaboration is key. We all have different varying perspectives and ideas, and this action working group, I think, will help launch many of these ideas. One of the things I've heard from various people is that, you know what, such and such owns a business, or such and such can teach a course. Let's get a conversation going with some of these individuals to see if they would be willing to teach a course, if they would be willing to create a partnership or a pathway program, so that we can give our students more incentives, more exposure. We're small enough, flexible enough, and agile enough that we actually can pull this off. So, utilizing our strengths as a community, exploring parent and community-led electives workshops, as I just said, business partnerships, mentorships. One of the things that was really interesting, during the school year, we had 2 of our board members actually agreed to sub for a day. And it was an interesting experience. And they got a chance to see the kids in action. But I love that because in a lot of ways they were mentoring, they were learning. And I want to get more parents involved in our community. Being available to come to school, spend time walking the hallways, but just being a presence. And I can see her what she's thinking right now. But seriously though, I think the more that we can get parents involved in the community, the more we will grow as a school community, getting parents involved actively. So, now I want to participate in a discussion guided by several questions, and I want to get your thoughts, your opinions, and I want to start by just asking several questions. Some of you have been here for a couple of years. Some of you have been here for a long time. And I'm going to start with the question, moving forward, what should we be known for as a school? What should we be known for as a school? Don't all speak at once.
I really like the small school atmosphere here. Like our choices for a high school would be 600 per grade or 500 per grade, and I really love the fact that we're here. But I'd love for us to be able to focus academically and do that balance where you have the athletics, and this is important, and the arts and all that. So I want it to be a balanced school that's in a small environment that increases opportunities for the student and teacher interaction. I think definitely benefited from that student-teacher interaction. Much more so than it would have been a bigger environment.
So just to be clear, from your perspective right now, we haven't achieved that balance.
Well, let's say, I think you've got the small part down. I'd like to see us grow from where, we were much higher, and I think got down a little too low. That's hurt some of the opportunities academically, I think, that we haven't been able to offer some of those things. I mean, my student has been able to go to WIC Tech and get some other academic opportunities, but the limited, the small size means you have limited electives and like that. athletics took a big hit this past year. Say that, I'd love to just see that, the balance of, the organization of the athletics to improve. That was something we struggled with.
That's more than fair. Anyone else?
I agree with what she just said very well.
I think one of the things that sort of connects to your point about the academics is the teacher turnover situation. And I'm sure it has a lot to do with our declining numbers, but I do feel like as our numbers of students have declined and the student population here has declined, the teachers have also left. And again, that's probably a chicken or an egg situation, what has precipitated the other. But unfortunately, I think that has resulted in a reputation in the community that's going to be difficult to overcome to recruit teachers and students moving forward. And so I agree 100% that we have to increase the academic rigor. I guess my question is, what is the plan to do that, to maintain teachers and faculty and staff and thereby grow the student population as a whole?
Well, I think one of the things that has been very clear, the school, when it first started, was the only school in town, charter-wise. And therefore, there was a great buzz. There was a community feel. At one point, I think there were nearly close to 700 students. There was a robust waiting list. What we saw prior to COVID, the state took a cap off of charter schools. And so you had charter schools start popping up all over the place. Other schools started then to build, or counties started to build new schools. And so now we found ourselves in a competitive market. And the school did not respond to the challenge and kept operating as business as normal. Didn't change to the changing demographics of other schools. And so we woke up one day and we said, whoa, wait a minute, we're losing students. The other thing that has also occurred, there is a teacher shortage in North Carolina. There's a teacher shortage across America. After COVID, many teachers decided this was no longer what they wanted to do. Now, we're in the mix of trying to rebuild our enrollment, trying to recruit teachers. The other dynamic too is that, and I taught in the classroom for 11 years, the other dynamic is that there's not that loyalty in terms of, I'm going to start the year, I'm going to finish the year. Now, if someone can get a better incentive or a better opportunity, they're going to leave. I think the thing that we have to do as a school, we have to identify how can we make our school feel as if there's a culture in place, that people are feeling supported, people are wanted. Oftentimes, we don't have the money to pay the teachers compared to Wake County. So how can we then provide incentives that's going to convince teachers to stay? And that's been our biggest challenge. It's been our biggest challenge. We've lost some really good teachers. We've gained some really good teachers. But I think if you were to ask other schools, other systems, they're experiencing similar challenges in terms of teacher turnover. And I think that's one of the things why I want to form this collaborative group. What are ideas that we can put on the table that's going to create that further community feel, that's going to feel like we can then have our teachers feel comfortable enough that they want to stay. That was a very good question. Yes.
Have you offered, like exit interviews, exit, surveys, and also a survey to the teachers that are here now? To kind of, because you're doing this with us, is that also happening with them to kind of see like, why are they leaving and what are their offers? What is making the ones who are staying stay?
No, that's a really good question. So when someone decides to resign, our HR department that we contract with will schedule a meeting with the teacher, and it'll be a virtual interview. And essentially, they will ask questions about their satisfaction, what prompted them to leave. And so sometimes we come back to they feel like they didn't get enough support. There are times where it comes back to, I need more money. For example, last year we lost a teacher that had been here for about 4 years, but then she's close to retirement. So she decided to go back to the public system, the public school system, so that she could collect in her full retirement. So it was incentive, monetary incentive. So there were a variety of different reasons. But one of the things that most of our teachers have said is that they've enjoyed working with our students. They've enjoyed the relationship that exists between students and teachers.
I think that I would like our school to be known for being a place that everyone wants to be. So my daughter, I didn't get insurance. I heard everybody insurance yet. I was listening in the car. I have a rising 11th grader and a rising 9th grader, and my daughter really likes to think she owns school. But she loves to come to school. She truly does. My son, yeah, I can get him out of bed and come here, so that's good too. But if we could get this to be somewhere that everybody knows, like if you're here, you're an elite group, not of like super smart or super fancy, but a family that has pride in their school. And I think that would help the teachers too. So I work for the state. I've been with the state for 20 years. I could make twice what I make in the private industry, but I stay at my job because I love what I do, and I love the people I work with, and I have an amazing boss. So I think that really makes a big difference. A lot of people leave because of like management or something. So if everybody can just come together and make a community where everyone's accepted and you can all just be here, if this is your home, I think that would help. We'd have people wanting to come here all the time.
Well, and I think you just said something that the survey also revealed, was that there needs to be a sense of culture building. There needs to be a sense of our students have to feel pride for the school. There are certain students that feel pride for the school, and then there are other students that don't feel a certain level of pride for the school. And I think that comes back to community bonding, community events that bring us together. But then on the flip side too, we go all out to put together these events on the weekends, and then we have very little participation. And then we have parents that get frustrated and they say, I'm doing all of this, but yet it seems to be only a few of us that's doing the work that's supporting the school. There are 300 other plus families here at the school. How come they're not involved? And then that becomes a source of frustration. And I saw it at last Saturday's event. I saw it at our spring event, where the other piece is that pride of wanting to be part of something special. People take for granted. Oh, such and such will do it. Jim's always there. He'll do it. But if Jim's not there, then who else is going to step up? And I think that's the part where we have to start changing from the inside out. Because if we don't change from the inside, then we're not going to attract those students and those families that we want to be part of this experience.
So we are a new family,
got twin seventh graders coming in. And let me give you a little bit of perspective from where we're coming from. The reason we're leaving, one of them is that our classrooms at Westlake Middle School are going 30-1 for seventh grade, which is just not good for our children. And so we, hearing about the small class sizes is what brought us. So in our mind, seeing small class sizes, good personal attention, is a winner, is the driven, reason why we're coming. And I will say that also parent participation sucked at Westlake Middle School too. I was one of 2 parents that organized and fulfilled an entire week of teacher appreciation for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. There was 2 of us. And if we didn't show up, there wasn't going to be anything for the teachers. So, it's a problem, but that's just why we're coming. We're nervous, we're nervous. Having still, there's still seats open, seats available. We were 868 on the list for Pine Springs. And you're like, well, why? What's the difference? How did we get in here? And my kids are stoked. They're ready for a change. They're ready for smaller class sizes. The cafeteria is chaos. It's awful. It's screaming. And then we got a message today from our vice principal about aggression at the school and cell phone use during the day and all these things like that. There's just and we got a message last week from a teacher saying that they're seeing bullying in the class, and before they go to administration, they want the teachers or the parents to talk to all the kids so that they can kind of quell this, so it's kind of crazy where we're coming from. So we're very excited. But what drew us and what I hope that the identity would be the small class things, would be the personal attention for the kids. My
Thank
kids
you
would
for
get
sharing
lost
that.
in a class of 30-1. Lost.
So everything you said is what brought us here years ago, and we're still here. Our oldest has been here, just finishing her 4th year, right? Yeah. All through middle school and high school. Yeah, freshman year of high school, and our youngest is just finishing her 2nd year. And we came for all of those reasons, and we're still here and so happy. One of the things I see when we came 4 years ago is we stepped into a lot of negativity in the school 4 years ago due to, I don't know, a whole long list of things that I didn't know anything about and honestly didn't really want to know a lot about because I was here for my own kids and focusing on their experience. Over the last 4 years, I feel like there's still talk of negativity from the past and there's not enough parents sharing the positive. People, it's so much easier to raise your hand or send a message or post on Facebook something negative, and nobody wants to put positives out there. And that's what I would like to change. I don't know how to do that on my own. I share as much positive as I can when given the opportunity, but people love to complain, unfortunately. And I would love to be a part of finding a way to showcase the kids that excel because they would have also been lost in that environment. Or the kids that have academic or social struggles that come here and excel that never would have excelled anywhere else. The students that feel like you said that love to come to school because we had a kid that we couldn't get out of the house for years because of school refusal. And she loves this place. So I just think that there's so many more positives. There's always going to be challenges. There's challenges everywhere, to your point. But I would love for us to be known for all those wins. And we just got to find an avenue to share them
To communicate
because
it.
wins breed wins. And I think other people can see that.
Thank you for sharing that comment. It reminds me of something. I choose, and probably to my detriment, I choose not to follow social media, follow what's being put on the website. Somebody will say, did you see what such and such on Facebook posting? I say, no, I didn't. She will actually bring to my attention if there's something negative that I need to know about. And I thank you for that. because oftentimes I'm so busy on trying to manage the school, I choose not to get involved in social media. Heather does a really good job too of keeping track. So I think that's something I probably need to do a better job with in terms of keeping track of social media. But I do agree with you. Sometimes it's the smaller elements that make the most noise. And then there's so many positives that are taking place, but we don't celebrate the positives. We celebrate the drama. We celebrate what we think, well, we're not even, what, and this happens in all schools. But if something is posted on Facebook, 20% of it may be true, but then the 80% of it is definitely just a myth, or it's false. But yet we run with what's not true, and then that cycles into a bigger and bigger issue. But anyway, that's one of my frustrations too, is how can we celebrate our wins? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna tag on to what you were saying. So I think one of the things that makes the school great is actually the athletic program, because I have 2 kids that participate in many different sports. And I'm gonna be honest in saying that although I adore my children, they are not elite athletes, right? So my daughter, Sarah, as an example, would not make the cheer team if she was going to Apex Friendship, where we were originally supposed to go. She's not a competitive gymnast, she's not a competitive cheerleader, she did not make the team. She had never picked up a volleyball or a soccer ball before her freshman year of high school, and has played volleyball and soccer and cheered at this school. And it has been a gift for her to be involved in that. That being said, I feel like that is the kind of school we have, where we can give kids an opportunity to participate in athletics. They don't necessarily, there's always the place for the elite to go travel, select AAU, like there's always those opportunities. And high school sports is such a valuable place for building school community and building, self-efficacy and self-confidence and esteem in these young kids, and then building parents that want to work together, right? But I will say, as a mom who's been involved in the sports program, we don't celebrate that as our environment, right? And I feel like we need to from the top down, and perhaps this is a role of the new athletic director, and gosh, I hope it is. But kind of creating that vision and that mission that we are an inclusive school, to your point, right? That we can allow opportunities for kids that might not otherwise make a volleyball team to be a part of the school, to celebrate that achievement and that involvement, because it makes our community stronger. So years ago, I worked for the Y. I worked for them for years and years, and one of the things the Y does so well is community. They have a very clear mission. They have a very clear message, and everything they do ties back to that, right? And I feel like as a school, if we talk about what we'd like to see for our school moving forward, it is a very clear brand. And if that is going to be an inclusive community where we are like a family, someone that's smarter than I am needs to come up with some kind of mission statement, vision statement, something cohesive, and then everything we do, athletics, academics, parent involvement, ties back to that. Because when you have that kind of cohesion, you have a force, right? I mean, like, goodness, look at the Y. Everybody in every place across the country that has a YMCA knows what they stand for. And I feel like that could be our school too, if we capitalize, as Kelly's mentioning, on some of these successes and some of these other parents that are talking about the small school environment. If we can capitalize on that and that inclusive nature of a small family-based school, we could potentially really see growth here. So what I would like to see is that from the top down, be it academics, athletics, or arts, we have a cohesive mission and a cohesive vision, and we can tie everything back to that. Just my 2 cents, sorry.
Oh, we have Heather over here. Heather is recording the notes for us. Anyone else? And we don't have to stick to this. I'll come right back to you, okay? I'll try to be quick. I just kind of wanted to piggyback on what she said. April and Travis Reed, been here for 7 years. We came here when my son was in 6th grade. His autism, and he needed a place where he could learn and possibly get a regular high school diploma. And the school was great when we got here. We were on the waiting list. We actually moved to Cary because we were like 250 on the waiting list. We were not going to get in. And then after we moved, he got in. Okay, we're going to be driving to Holly Springs every day for the next 7 years. When we got here, program, I told you before, the program was really great. Like, he progressed to middle school. He got to high school and he had to switch programs. But I'm thankful for the environment that it fostered here. Because like you're saying, it should be known as an inclusive place. I know it's a large special needs population here. But he was able to play varsity soccer, played for 2 years. Coaches were really great. He's not an elite athlete like she was saying, but like he got in the games, he learned to play, he learned sports. All of a sudden, he plays golf and soccer too. He's not an elite athlete either, but it fostered like you said, a community. They love coming to school. They don't like school after COVID. Like it's pretty much done with school, but they like coming to school. They like their friend groups. They like the classes. And I like the school overall in general because I feel like if you come here, there's people who live all over. We live in Gary, people live in Willow Springs, wherever. You're dedicated to the school. You're dedicated. If your kids play sports, you're dedicated to the school, the sport, everything. Because you're gonna be driving all over the world. So like I feel like if you're a family, you come here, you're all in, and it should be known for inclusiveness. It should be known for the athletics. It's like we have a really good athletes going to play in college, and we have some kids that are, on the team and learning. So I think it's a wide range. It should be known for that. But those are my positives about the school. My negatives I would say about the school is, and you mentioned it in your slides, a lot of the stuff you answered things I wanted to ask. But like, it needs to be some sort of plan, and I wouldn't mind being on that plan to say this is where the school is. And these are things we're putting in place. So we may not see, everything happen over 1 or 2 or 3 years, but over time you start seeing things get better, transportation for sports and like just class sizes or like just like a plan in place. So these are things we're doing in the next 2 or 3 years. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we'll start over, but we got something moving forward.
Well, first of all, these are some pretty awesome comments in here, so I don't want to repeat anything. But so as most of you know, we've been here for quite a while. We came because of the small class size. I think that's the only way my kids will really thrive, which they have done very well here. So we're excited about that. But when you look at, so what should Southern Wake Academy be known for moving forward? Yes, small class size. But then, and what? And, Dr. Khan, you had mentioned, it may have been last year, maybe you mentioned multiple times, like, what is the right size? Maybe we're not an 800 student school, maybe we're a 500. So what is that right size? But then more than that, like what differentiates us? Because it can't just be the standard classes and the standard electives. Like what are we giving to the students that they wouldn't be getting at another big public school? It has to be small, smaller class size, and that can't be it. So what does that actually mean? I think that community partnership, which we've talked about it a lot. What does that community partnership look like? How can we better connect the students with the community and jobs in the future, whatever that looks like? I believe through that we can start finding our identity. There's a smaller school culture, smaller classroom sizes that's connected to actually developing them out and the students out for something greater, a little bit more, almost like a more of immediate impact.
Just real quick, my daughter went back to her elementary school today, and it was a school in downtown Raleigh. Both my girls went, and it's a small school, and it's a Wake County public school, but it was a minor school, and it was small. And just talking with them today, it's like it was so perfect. because it was small, the teachers knew the kids, but the environment and the community around it was so big. And just so engaged, and like, just having these lifelong friends that these kids have had. And so their tagline was, small school, big city. And so we were just kind of driving over here, and he goes, small school, big community. And I'm like, that's kind of what everybody is kind of saying here is, you know, a small school, but within a big community. So parent community, student community, businesses community, it's just having all of those things, athletic community, just the community itself is so big, but it can go into so many different ways of the community.
Heather, you get that small school, big community?
I got it.
I like it. You know, it's also in listening to some of these comments, since I've been here, I don't think we've done it. You know, I think it's time for the school to create a strategic plan. We're totally different from where we were prior to COVID. But what is a strategic plan for the school moving forward? And I think part of this collaborative action group could help with that. But I do think there are so many ideas around the table that we need to start exploring those ideas and what can we do to put them into action. So, anyway, any other comments or things that what experiences or opportunities should we prioritize for our students? I know you were going to answer that, but
say something else.
go ahead.
Well, I mean, the point I was gonna make, with the Seamus being here as a communications person, she's not the first one that tried that. She's actually the third one I remember, so, and it seems like it's worked this year. It's been a fully supported position, or more of a full-time position than, like, the person that did it before was more full-time, and then got stuck in the classroom, and then that balance was not able to be achieved. So I really appreciate the school prioritizing that communication, that, like, as a PTO representative, or even as a parent. Her kid forgot his shoes one day. I reached out to the senior, she kind of helped him. He forgot his proper shoes one day. So, but as a PTO member, I know I could go and ask her, and she could make that connection with the school, and things that we need to get done there. And I do appreciate the position, that person in the position, and that's something that should be focusing, continue focusing.
Well, we're blessed to have her. We are. She started as a volunteer substitute teacher, then she took on a class for 2 years. And now I thought she would be the perfect person for this position because she saw everything from the inside and then was able to translate to the outside. So she's done a remarkable job.
First, can we clone her? That'd be great. No, I'm just kidding. I think we should continue with using our classes, I guess, like the marketing class to make social media posts. For PTO, we had, which class was it that did quarter two luncheon?
That's like events planning.
Events planning class. They pretty much planned most of our quarter two luncheon for PTO, which was so helpful for us. But like really getting them involved in the school. I don't know. It can make a class that's for like fixing bathrooms because apparently the children like to ruin the bathrooms. So make a class for that. Like, now you get to fix the bathroom. Plumbing. There we go.
Dr. Khan, I know a lot of this stuff that I say to you, you've already heard me say it to you like 3 or 4 times, but I guess this might be for everybody. I'd like to see like all the classes connect. So everything from our arts, if we have a photography class, photography is big. We're living in a digital world. So our photography class is tied to our marketing class that's tied to actually doing it for the real world, right? We have our own photographers taking pictures of our athletes at the different sporting events. We have our own marketing class working on real world assignments. You have our business management class or business process manager, whatever we call it, right? Also working with, hey, how can we actually improve our school? Because now not only are they learning it from the text, they're learning it in application, and they're building a portfolio that they can put on the resume when they go out to their first interview, which is going to put them one step up on that pile of applicants.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So kind of in line with that, I would love to see us encourage more student involvement. I know we have the required volunteer hours, for example. At every single volleyball match this year, we used my dad and any other poor soul we could convince to call lines, right? This is just not a hard job for a kid to do, but if we can get students involved in, and I had mentioned to our previous athletic director, we don't have athletic trainers at games. And if someone gets hurt, I mean, I know students are not equipped to evaluate injury or any of those things, but they can sure go get an ice bag, right? And we can get these kids their community service hours. They get, as Jim is mentioning, that real world application. So many kids want to go on to PT school or to become athletic trainers or go in the world of medicine. So get some real hands-on experience and get them involved in the school. They earn their volunteer hours. They maybe get some training from someone who can certify them in first aid, and then they are also then more heavily invested in the school, the athletics, the activities, the after-school programs. Like, I think by encouraging them to participate and finding avenues for that, it just kind of aligns with using students that are in the events planning class or photography. Use them across the board for all kinds of things, and I think it would really enhance their interest in the school and their pride at the school too.
I was going to let the new AD share this, but since you've already gone down this path, I'll go ahead and share. No, that's fine. So our new AD believes in game day management, in which he works with students that may not be affiliated with the sports program, giving them service hours and having them perform various functions or tasks to support the event that we're hosting here on campus. And so that's something that he developed at his last school that has become a very successful model that he wants to bring here as well. In fact, he'll be here on Thursday to introduce himself.
Is that open to everybody? Because the email kind of made it like it was for the basketball team.
It's open to everybody. It's open to everybody.
So moving forward, also thinking about, there are sports that are here. We got our volleyball, we got our basketball,
Golf.
I don't know.
Baseball.
Well, no, baseball's not here.
Oh, you're talking about
Baseball.
on
Home
campus,
games.
yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Soccer is off campus.
Everybody-
So we're talking about half of your athletes don't stay on campus. And I would really love for our school to focus in on bringing those sports, well, to this campus.
Well, it's
not-
close to Carmen.
Yeah, how do you get a kid to stay after school to go watch a soccer game if they have to drive 20 minutes in the wrong direction to go
Yeah.
watch it?
Yeah.
We're gonna parent, take them and parent.
Any
Take
private
them
sports
to
on the
Bloomington
bus.
and enter the baseball practice.
Yeah, practices
Or
too,
golf
or
practice.
not
It's everything.
sometimes.
Trust me, I know that's definitely been a challenge. Traveling, particularly when we don't have vehicles to transport our students to practice or to games.
I have a quick question. I know that this year you guys did it, and I know that my oldest had asked for next year, but are you guys still thinking about doing student, teacher assistants? I know it was there. at the beginning of
TAs,
this year.
yes.
Yeah, student TAs for next year. Like, I think that, I know that was, I don't know how that worked out for some, but I know that would be a great thing.
I mean, we learned a lot last year when we first introduced it. This year, I think we've gotten better. but I think all of our students have really enjoyed being a TA.
My student loved having a TA. I could not hear enough about the communication and how it came from a different perspective, coming from the TA versus the teacher.
Mm.
And even when the teacher was occupied with one, the TA that was in his room was able to help another group, and he raved about it being in his classroom, and I look forward to it.
Nice. Thank you for that feedback.
I think that's something you can add to like the small classroom size, and they're also getting additional help, personal like one-on-one help. You got a TA and a teacher, kind of like a college setting.
That's a good point. Anything else that's on this list or something that come to mind? Yes.
All right, two things. So I'm going to address the sports fields.
I knew you were. That's why I didn't say anything.
So we are working on. So I'm on the board. We are working on trying to get the sports field. It is a long process. I tell you what would really help, because obviously the more times that comes up, the more it becomes a priority. At our monthly board meetings, there's almost zero parent and community participation. We have zero. We have Mr. Gaffney running the cameras and sound. Thank you. And Heather and Kristen. Very few people, but if you were to show up, if you were to encourage your other community members to show up and just maybe don't kick my butt, she's also on the board. Beat us up about that, because then that becomes a priority. Then when you end up looking at the budget, it's like, okay, we've heard a lot from the parents in the community that this needs to be it, and list out your reasons of why you want it, because that becomes a priority. But I will say we are working on it. It's going to take time. Hopefully, I don't think it'll be ready by the fall, but hopefully by the spring. So,
So be careful what you ask for, because I know some parents, especially with the baseball team, that would welcome that, but are not going to come nicely.
it's okay. It's okay. The second thing I want to say is school branding. We have a lot of stuff going out on social media. Some is seen by people, some isn't. But I remember when I was in high school, right as you drive in, a huge sign says "Home with the Bears," and we were Bears through and through. We had an actual statue there. Somebody went to rival school, knocked out the nose, so it looked like a pig. But I'm like, we were the home of the Bears, and we had a lot of pride in that. I think we've already done some stuff with the beautification or painting of the buildings, but anything we can actually stick up there, like "Home with the Lions," like. I'm sure some of the parents would, participate in standing up a big old board, maybe right at the edge of the gravel parking lot or something that says "Home of the Lions." Maybe hang up banners along the fence railing on the stairs. Giving school spirit, and maybe give the design class. I don't know if we have a graphic design class, but put it on them to make it. Just when they come in, they are lions. First thing they see when they come in, last thing they see when they leave.
You're talking about pride.
Pride. Yeah, lion pride. Yep. Which turns into culture.
Good point. Anyone else?
So it kind of seems like I was just listening to everybody, and not only are we small school, big community, but it seems like a lot of the things that we're now starting to do is more preparing them for graduating and going beyond. Like making the portfolio and doing the TA stuff and doing the athletics and helping out with that, getting your first aid certification, that kind of stuff. Maybe we somehow put that in there. Like, if your kid is really interested in being an athletic, I am sports student, people, I'm sorry, athletic person.
You're great.
If they're really interested in being athletic people, then they come here and they can help with the teams and learn all these things, and then work with the athletic director, and all that stuff, and get all of that experience. It would also be nice if we had like a class that was dedicated to just learning how to be an adult, like taxes. I paid my car property tax, the registration crap or whatever, the other day, and none of my kids knew what that was. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right, you probably know. You have to pay.
We have an adulting class.
It's Adulting 101.
Is
Is the
it?
name of the class.
When can they take it? Because mine didn't tell me that. They need to take it. But something, something like, so we're known for preparing them for the future, I guess.
Yeah, in fact, Ms. Hogue taught the adulting 101 class last year, and she had mock interviews. Students had to dress up. Students had to, I was one of the participants, along with 2 other staff members, and we were interviewing the students, and we gave feedback. So we do have that element.
That would be amazing. And if they can explain credit card interest rates to my children, that would be great too, because I don't understand that. Or ethics.
I think we need to market that sort of stuff better than we do.
Mm.
Like, I know my kids have been here since 6th grade, so we've been here like when there was a wait list. We were like Travis, we were also wait listed when Nolan came in, and we got in. I didn't know that we would, but a lot of that stuff back then was very well known. The portfolio and the expectations about portfolio were out there. I don't remember, it's been a long time, like how it was out there, but it was out there. Someone mentioned the chaos of the cafeteria. That was one of the things that I really liked about this school, because my kids used to beg, or they would like intentionally get in trouble when they were in elementary school, especially Nolan, and he's not a get in trouble kid because he doesn't have to deal with me, but he would get in trouble so he didn't have to go to the cafeteria because he could not stand the noise and the chaos. That was a very big factor for us, like not having the cafeteria. There, things go on in the cafeteria in a high school that I can't even imagine. So
Middle school
like
too.
those things are very positive for us. And I think if we somehow get that information out there to the community, you know, I can imagine what Willow Springs cafeteria or Fuquay's cafeteria or Holly Springs cafeteria look like. And if there are some kids who don't enjoy that, that could be a drawing point to us, in addition to the small atmosphere and that sort of thing. It definitely was for us. So I think there's lots of little things like that that maybe people in the community don't realize that we have anymore. The portfolios, teaching them how to stand up in front of people and present whatever it is something that I didn't do until I was like senior in college. It is so beneficial to them. And the adulting class was great. Spencer, who's my youngest, who is pretty introverted, mumbles all the time. Ms. Hogue said he probably did the best in the interview of anybody in the classroom. And maybe she was telling me that, I don't know. But he truly enjoyed that class. But he loves Ms. Hogue, so you know, you got that whole dynamic that just is what makes this place special.
You know, I think that listening to the feedback, one of the things we've got to do a better job bragging on ourselves and what we have, what is going well, and then marketing that. Because I think we have a unique advantage that we're not taking advantage of.
Nobody knows about the school that I've talked to. I've talked to other teachers at the school that we go to, counselor that we go to. Where's that? Not heard of it. Once I say it's kind of near McWally's, they're like, oh, I know where that is, you know. But your funding depends on kid enrollment, correct? Well, whatever we can do, it's got to be to get the word out about the school, because nobody I have known knows where the school is. I was told by a friend that I used to work with, and her kids loved it, loved going here, and my kids definitely needed a change, and so they were like, you know, so we're coming here because of that. But it was word of mouth, right? But even the teachers and counselors and administration staff at our school don't know about school. I did that.
I had a question. I wanted to know if like the board or you, have y'all reached out to other charter schools to kind of see what they've done? Like you said, if you have like limited funding or other incentives, like what are other schools doing to keep their teachers and have like student engagement and stuff? So you know, you have a comparison of like what we're doing versus what other schools do.
So I've talked to a couple of community or charter school leaders, and it comes down to community. It comes down to that school pride. There is one school in Chapel Hill that I'm going to reach out to. They have a fantastic marketing program, and they have a great way of marketing their school. But when I talk to a lot of the leaders, it's about school community, school culture. If you can build a positive school culture, that's going to percolate to the outside and attract people. And I think it starts with our students. If our students don't have a great perception of us, then it's not going to translate. But it starts with building that school culture. Anyone else?
I wanted to just talk more about the electives. And you said for like a good way for us to be able to have opportunity for more, you were saying to reach out to like other business owners that may be willing to do some type of partnership. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. I think if we can bring professionals into the community and they're willing to teach an elective course, they're willing to teach a short course, that will give our students a different perspective. I think it's trying to make life applicable to what they're facing. You know, I was born in the era where you were taught to be successful, you have to go to college. Then you have to get married, raise a family. But now there are so many other avenues. A student does not have to go to a four-year school. They can go to a trade school, specialize in a skill, and really make a nice living for themselves. If I had to do it all over again, I may go into heating and air or being a plumber, because what those guys are making and with the skills that they're learning, particularly in an area like this, they're gainfully employed. But I think it's giving our kids an opportunity to decide what are they interested in. And I think that's by bringing professionals into the community and having them talk about what they do. I mean, I would love to have a sports management program. What does that entail?
I think strategically down the road, I could see the school kind of going in that direction. Like preparing kids to go to the trades. Now, there's some kids who are just, academically, they're going to go to college, that's their path. But you can have the best of both worlds. And I think 4 or 5 years down the road, maybe sooner, if we're lucky, I think that's a good direction to think about. Isn't there a new charter school that's coming in Chatham County?
There's a CTE charter school that's coming to Chatham County that's probably going to give, what's the school? Chatham Charter a run for their money, because they're not going to be too far located from them. But basically, I think it's going to be one of just a handful of CTE schools in North Carolina, which I think is going to be really exciting, particularly for that area of the county.
My experience here is like about 5 years ago, we had the operator, the PTO had money that they wanted to invest. So talk about putting in a greenhouse. Yes, that's like a whole different, like the agricultural part of an elective that could happen. And it didn't happen. There were some roadblocks. I had no idea what the roadblocks were at that time. I was just kind of like not on board, but I was participating in that picture. I learned we had money and we just couldn't get that greenhouse put into the company. Now, the size is going down. Maybe it wouldn't work out. Maybe we couldn't have sponsored the teachers to teach that, but somebody was here at the time, and it was something that was desired. So that's somewhat easy, somewhat, I don't know. Like that's a way you could, not fully CTE, but also something.
I hadn't heard about the greenhouse, but that's good information.
From a parent perspective, we do have an amazing campus that we can utilize, I think, more than what we're utilizing it now. We have a creek, we have a trail, we have, open field space. There's a lot of opportunities. The pond, if you have the right, obviously you have to check liability, but my background was through education. So you take the classroom outside and the lesson sticks differently. And our teachers do that to a point, But I think we could expand that along with, it goes right along with the collaboration that, so we're talking about some of the cross collaboration between classes. And then also you can add in some of those mentorship opportunities where you have high school classes potentially helping assist some of the middle school classes, things like that. But I definitely think we can utilize different things that we have on our campus because it's beautiful and it's well stocked naturally.
I'm so happy that you said that because that's something that I thought of many times and was one of the draws when we first came here for my oldest. And I don't know how much this is still happening with some of the middle school teachers, but a few years ago, they were taking breaks. They were going to the picnic tables and having lunch outside. They, would go walk the loop, the carpal loop, and just having that experience in the middle of the day to break up the day, to get fresh air, to get sunshine. That's not happening in any other public middle school. And I think that made a really big impact, and we could do so much more with the space that we have. And it just, again, it's something that we have that other schools don't have, but I don't know that we're using it or people know about it.
I mean, there are some schools that actually have outdoor classrooms. That's a dedicated space. And classes sign up to use the outdoor classroom.
Is that, the outdoor classroom would be like a picnic shelter, or not, but like a big space, like a picnic shelter, benches and stuff, or?
It's designed differently, but essentially you would have a place where they can sit. Normally there's a podium or a stand. And really it's for discussion or activities that you can do and then kind of reflection. But it's been very effective for some of the schools that are using the outdoor classroom. I know years ago, when I first got here, our PE classes would spend the first 10 minutes walking the trail as a way of really getting acclimated and then start PE class. So I do think that we have a beautiful campus that is underutilized. I think we have to do a better job of taking advantage of. In fact, I know that there are parents that are wanting to work with our new AD to create a cross-country trail, which I think is a great idea. But I think there are other things that we can use to really maximize this beautiful campus that we have.
And I do remember at middle school cross-country when they were here, because I think it's beautiful, and just out there, it's beautiful. But I know that a couple of kids from another school were saying like negative things about our school when they were running, and like it was like, it was last week, like our students, they were so upset, but it was like, it's so beautiful, but I think we haven't kept it up enough to allow it to be just like breathtaking beautiful.
Absolutely. So I've heard some really amazing ideas. So I guess my question is, would you be interested in forming this collaborative engagement group? Some of you are nodding. So my next action step is that I'm going to send an open invitation in a follow-up email tomorrow or the next day, kind of summarizing what we were talking about, but then giving that open invitation to start or form our first community engagement group that's focused on brainstorming, coming up with ideas, and then how can we implement those ideas? Because I think I've heard some really strong ideas and suggestions, but sometimes as a school, you get so bogged down with the day-to-day, you need this outlet of a group that can help with implementing these ideas. And I think getting students' involvement is crucial. They don't have to be present at every meeting, but I think getting their input is crucial.
What is your idea about when we start it and how long will we be?
Say that one more time.
When do we start this group? Like, I'm thinking we need to be going all through the summer, like meeting at some regularity, not necessarily fall, because then all the fall things that you might want to do, they're missed opportunities. So start now and have it regular, but I was just asking what your plan was there.
Well, my goal is to form the committee, the group, and then to meet during the summer, give dates. I know the summer is going to be challenging for a lot of people who may be traveling, who may be doing other things, but I think if we can just throw some of those dates out there, that's the foundation. And then start brainstorming with some ideas of implementation. And I think the other piece too is, as a school, we operate on a very tight budget, but then the things that you are talking about, we don't have to pay a lot of money for it. It's how we go about implementing these ideas. But I think it starts with this group, this committee, because you may have experience in an area that may actually help move the school forward. But I think that starts with this group. So my job is I'm going to put together this invitation, and then I'll come up with the first date, and then we'll take it from there.
Are you gonna send out an open invitation to all parents and students of the school?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. In fact, I'm going to send it out this week before, because in theory, next week, there's going to be a lot of activities. So I think to get the message out this week, while people are still reading their emails, and then schedule a time, probably within that first couple of weeks of June, to have that first preliminary meeting. Any other ideas or suggestions? Don't all speak at once.
I think it would be good, just like by word of mouth, right, to get it out the school. So maybe do some type of, in the emails or marketing blast, just say like, just share one of our posts on your Facebook page, or tell a friend or a neighbor about our school. Just trying to get the word out through the parents and the students.
Well, and to speak to what you just said, I also want this group to be able to help keep those messages alive during the school year, because I think sometimes it becomes disappointing if you're on a committee and very few people are showing up. But the ideas that we're having, what are creative ways in which we can keep the message going? All big ideas, they start off strong with a lot of engagement, a lot of ideas, but then at some point it kind of festers off. But I want to keep this alive, because essentially what we're talking about is trying to build culture, trying to build school pride, and then giving that incentive as to why. I mean, we've talked about it, but then what is our why? Why do we want people to be invested into the school? You guys have already clearly articulated it. Now it's our job to articulate it to the broader mass of families, particularly our newer families that are coming in.
I do think having students involved with the group, I think it's helpful. But I think that would be helpful. They're invested in it.
Yeah, it's about investment. You're right. Anyone else?
I think it could be a really great opportunity, and I don't know how this would happen and who would oversee the project, but and hopefully not a big list, but if there's a way for parents to submit wins, pictures, or something from the parent perspective over the last school year, and then ask students to do the same and put some sort of video or something together that represents various students and parents and experiences and from this past year, and then we have the summer to share that widely. I think that would be a really
Marketing our school, yeah,
It
absolutely.
would be really valuable.
I've got a question. How many people in this room visit or are part of the PTO, like Facebook page? Like, do you visit the PTO Facebook page at all? Okay. And then we also have the school Facebook page. Also. Well, the old pal chat Facebook page. All right. have, we do have good communication. The problem is with our PTO page, I don't think we're reaching that many people. We're reaching you guys, obviously, but not everybody in here raise their hand, and just making sure that that connectivity, like, I'm not sure how you get people to sign on to some of the social media that we actively and there's ideas out there. The positive things, so I can send out on, can send out a request for, hey, share some of your wins with us. I know Kristen has posted some of our wins, right? You did a couple of the student spotlights.
Oh, no, I didn't do.
This on Instagram.
Oh, sorry.
That's SWA.
Can I
Well,
piggyback off her? So I'm curious, here's what I would love to know, like piggybacking off what Sherry said. How many of you read your newsletter every Friday?
Well, like Saturday.
True, yeah, it comes out every Friday, okay. So we did the student spotlights, because that's exactly what I was thinking about. We started student spotlights to try to showcase some of those wins with our students who were doing at various aspects. And it started as advisory, how to give ideas for community service, job shadows, and then the senior internships. And those are kind of our big three under that advisory umbrella. It was so difficult to get parents to submit. Some of you who submitted are in the room because, like, I know you and we've talked and you've sent me things about your students. But we tried so hard to make that a weekly feature, and we could not get people to share that with us. That was where we started. So I love the idea of showcasing our wins and doing that. So I would love, the follow-up to that is, how do we get parents to share that?
Let me just say too, like, I'm just gonna speak as a person that has a high schooler that would be mortified if I sent in stuff like that went out in the newsletter for her. So, you know, I think the wins can be like bigger picture rather than like, look at what my daughter did today, right? Like, I think that's really hard for a lot of middle schoolers and high schoolers to rise above. But, and I appreciate the intent of that, but I would be blacklisted in my home if I did that.
And
So,
I think we're moving, and I think that's the thing. That's the only thing we tried.
yeah.
So how can we do that bigger picture? Like, how can we get parents to share that bigger
Right, and I
picture?
think it's something like, you know, here, like the soccer team did this today, or, you know, I don't know, Beta Club did X, Y, or Z, and I think it is like highlighting kind of the big picture, at least from my perspective, that would be great to see, and something that's really shareable in the community, but kind of like ticking off the student spotlight feels alienating, I think, for some kids. That's just my
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking for wins more.
Yeah.
Like, I love the idea of student spotlight. I understand why it's hard for sure. And my kid would also kill me if I did something like that. But wins meaning like just success over the year, you know, whether it's a sports team or a group of kids that are like, you know, this is the best, you know, freshman year I've ever had. I don't know, like, or the best, you know, high school experience, or this or that, or, you know, 8th grade graduation. Just students submitting things, parents submitting things to create sort of a highlight reel of what makes us different and special.
I think you should continue to do the spotlight, because it depends on the kids. Some
Yeah.
kids are outgoing, but you can also expand that to like, I know we talk about sports all the time, but like a student athlete, you know, it comes on the news, student athlete of the month for like Wayne County or Johnson County or whatever. They got their grades and, you know, where they're going to college and stuff, just stuff like that to kind of highlight the athletics or the school, or even like the student spotlight to say, well, they're going to go to college for this, so they're working toward this in the student spotlight. Like, I think one kid did like dentistry or something. I think it depends on the kids, but it would be good for like showcasing the school and getting the school out there. Like, this is a good place to go for your, you know, for your job, if they're going to either sports or academics, they're going to find.
Also talking to the students to see what, like she said, her child would be mortified, but talking to the kids to see what would you want to be shown
If you don't want that,
if you don't want that.
And in fact, so that they can share it. Like,
Yeah, they
my-
can share,
like,
yes.
my son had the privilege this year that he was on student council. So every time one of his friends or even our middle school baseball team had a win or had a challenge, he was so excited to come to school and blow that up on the announcement. That was like the highlight of his morning. And I understand that that becomes like a last minute, like how do we get that out at the last second, the morning of the announcement or something? But that could be like, I don't know, whether it be a paper that gets dropped from his seat or a place in each of the schools. The middle school has one and the high school has one where a student can just walk in and say, hey, you know, here's what our game looked like last night, or this is what our club did last night. Because we also have all these builders clubs and chess, and can't even list all of them off, that happen after school as well. That if we had a drop area, email, anything where it could be accessed first thing in the morning or on Friday, if we're missing it, could throw it out there in the newsletter. The kids could, without pressure, throw out a shout out to something good, and the parents could as well.
I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit. All right, so I think most of us in here didn't have Facebook or social media when growing up, right? So what was the medium? The medium was the newspaper. Well, it was not uncommon to get your picture and your name in the newspaper, and it wasn't a sore spot. It's like, football game, I made the newspaper, awesome, right? Right, but when it's not common, then it's uncomfortable. I think that's the biggest thing, right? We tried it at the very beginning. I'll tell you, we had a teacher that sabotaged it for the basketball players. Nobody wanted to be after David after he was on it, partly because of that. But the more common it becomes, the more accepting it is, and so I will say, just because somebody's uncomfortable with something doesn't mean that it should necessarily be done. If you guys know David, he is shy and as they come. I mean, but the fact that he can actually talk to people now is a miracle. But he's had to get up in front of classrooms and give presentations, and specifically in Mr. Doak's business management class. He did great, and you know what? It was uncomfortable for him. He got up there, he kicked butt. I think got like an A or A+ in it. Mr. Doak said he did a phenomenal job. Super uncomfortable, but with that being uncomfortable, created growth, right? And when you get out into the business world, there are times like you do want that recognition, or else you're not going to get promoted. So I just want to play a little bit different.
100%. But I'm saying, like, where is it coming from, right? So, like, as a mom, if I submit that about my daughter, she's like, oh my gosh. But if Ms. Hope submits that about Sarah, that's a whole different situation. So that's all I'm saying is, like, I think the context matters, and I'm just sharing with Ms. Seaman, like, why I think that was, from what I heard from my mom friends, why that was a difficult thing to garner participation in is because a lot of us are feeling like, if I write that about my kid, they're gonna be embarrassed, right? And so I think from a lot of the moms I talked to, that was the holdup for that and why it was difficult to garner participation. Obviously, every kid's different, right? And so that matters too. But I think where it's coming from matters a lot. So like when I was in high school and we got student athlete of the week or whatever, that came from my coach who nominated me. It wasn't my mom or dad who I actually would have like never spoken to again, right? But if it's from my coach, that's a whole different vibe. Or if it's from my teacher who nominates me, that's a whole different situation. Or another student, right? Like who selects this kid, right? So I think the context matters a lot. And again, I don't disagree with it at all. I think being uncomfortable builds growth and character for sure, right? But I do think that that's why, as Ms. Siemens was saying, like we just didn't get much participation, and I'm just sharing, like from our perspective, that's one of the barriers for us. Yeah.
This has been a great conversation. I don't want to keep everyone, but I do want to keep this momentum going because I think it's valuable to our sustainability as a school to really market ourselves and celebrate our wins. I'm going to put out the invitation with a date, and we'll have our first meeting that first or second week in June, and then we'll start really coming together with some of these ideas and looking at some initiatives that we can come up with that we can have in place by the fall. Does that sound acceptable? Okay. Any other comments, thoughts, before we close out?
Thank you.
I'm sure.
I truly appreciate you coming because I didn't know how many were going to show up, but I think this is great.
Oh, I was just gonna say, honestly, I think the school is, even just from, last year was our first, not the school year, but was our first year. And I've seen such a major change this year, but, and I just, it's perfect fit for my kids. And I think that the ones that are in this room and some other parents as well that just aren't here, I think we're all in. So speaking for my family, whatever you need from us, we're here to help.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I can feel the sentiment in the room. Any other concluding thoughts or comments? All right, so I know what I have to do, so stay tuned. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.